So good evening and welcome back. For those who are joining from India, and good morning to all who are joining from US. And I'm not sure if there are people joining from Europe and other places. There are some new faces, so welcome to this 8-part webinar series, Mindfulness on the Go. This is the third session. Couple of logistics related announcements. We are recording this session and we will be putting this session on YouTube. Zoom does this recording. We have done that for the previous 2 sessions as well. You can also go there and check those sessions. In this session, we have a co-host and guest. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Kavita. I'm going to introduce her now. Dr. Kavita Desai is a clinical hypnotherapist and a transpersonal psychologist. She's been running her private practice for the last 16 years. And she has focused on emotional and mental well-being. And focuses on modalities such as hypnosis, art-based therapy, and graphology. Welcome, Dr. Kavita.
Thank you, Vinay.
What I'll do now is I'll do a quick recap of what we have done so far, 5 minutes, which will be followed by a conversation between me and Dr. Kavita on some of the key aspects of this third chapter. And then we will open this up for conversation, and I'm hoping to converse with you all. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you a few slides that might be helpful when I do this recap. I'm going to share this. Okay, now I'm hoping that this is visible to all now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we looked at different terminology of what mindfulness is or what mindfulness could be. And one of the first example we looked at had these 2 metaphors. Mindfulness is a process of learning to balance between bookkeeping, and that's the sign. Our man hero is doing this, and berry picking. The kids they are the first one to notice berries, and they are spotting and they're showing this, look, berries, right? And we said berries could be spontaneity, novelty, being in the present, freshness, while bookkeeping could be worrying about future. It could also be about planning. And we also asked questions. Some of you asked questions, which are very nice questions, like, can we do berry picking while bookkeeping, right? So that was first. Then we also looked at another balancing act, which is learning to balance the biased bicycle of life. You see the picture on the left, the handle is turning left, but see the wheel is actually turning right. So biased bicycle is a cycle where when you turn the handle left, the wheel might turn right. Which means suppose I work really hard, I might expect salary hike, I might expect promotion, and suddenly COVID comes and I might get a pay cut. And if I'm really, really unlucky, I might be losing job also. And when situation like that happens, I go off balance, like on the picture on the right hand side. While I'm riding this biased bicycle, I go off balance. Yeah, so we looked at mindfulness as a balancing act. Then in the last session, we looked at this fast and slow thinking modes. And we particularly looked at the fast mode of thinking, where we think like we see, and the way it is shown in this Necker cube, we only see it one way. We only see one side of the story. which is fast, automatic, and it has bias. And we can't really help it. So that was the characteristic of this mode, dominant mode of thinking. And we looked at what is called fast mode trap. We call it a trap because it looks like a cycle. What is this about? What you believe is what you see. So whatever I believe is all I keep seeing in the newspapers and WhatsApp and everywhere. And then what you see is all there is, which means whatever I see that's all there is. And it just confirms my belief. So it's a reinforcing loop where my beliefs, whatever beliefs I have, they get more and more confirmed and they get firm. And based on this understanding, we framed a challenge. We said, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a process of learning to see clearly despite fast, automatic, and biased thinking, anytime, anywhere. And we'll see, is there something we can try to do? Now, what is missing in this definition is it's a process of learning versus knowing. Sometimes we look at acquisition of knowledge as important, and this is not emphasized here. It's learning more like learning to cycle, to see clearly versus doing right. We are really not asking a question of what should I do. We are trying to see things clearly. We are not saying how do I free myself of biases. We are saying the biases will be there. So despite these biases, what can be done? And anytime, anywhere versus on a specific time and place and so on. Yeah. So this is where we are. And where do I begin? And this is where the chapter title comes, which is this third chapter, which says stepping out of the train of thought. So Dr. Kavita, let's try to understand what is train of thought and what do you understand by stepping out of train of thought?
Yeah, so as I see it, for me, train of thought is, if I can call it as time travel. So when we are thinking, we are either into past or into future. So we are traveling back in past or we are traveling into the future. And at that time, we basically forget that magic is only in the present. And that magic, which can happen in the present, is very loud and clear on the cover page of the book itself, which is connecting with the real you. So if we take a metaphor, as I understand, of a cow sitting in the middle of the road, least bothered about the movement and noises, blissfully centered there. So the movement and the noises are like a train of thoughts, the traffic. It is mindlessness of the thought. Whereas cow can be equated to the mindfulness in that scenario. So if that in that case, we also compare it with body, then body is always in the present. It's our mind which is either in the past or future. And hence, when we are sitting in the train of the thought, that means we are disconnected from the body as well. So there's a disconnect between mind and body. And that happens with us most of the time. So stepping out of the train of the thought is to align the body and the mind. And it is to move from mindlessness of the thought, traffic, to mindfulness. That's how I see.
And what could be an example of getting in touch with body?
Coming back to our senses itself is a very easiest way to get in touch with the body, right?
Yeah.
So sensations, utilizing five senses or feeling the ground under the feet when you're walking or focusing on the breath.
Yeah.
These are the easiest thing which can immediately align us to the body.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that when I'm really lost in thought, when I'm really in my train of thought, I really lose touch with some of these senses and the sensations that body sends.
Yes.
Body could be sending, I'm hungry.
Absolutely.
I may just not pay attention to it. Body could be saying,
Yes.
that I am sleepy, for example, and I may not get that signal. But you're also saying
Yeah.
that there are simple movements like even breath, which is very subtle, but um, I may lose track of those movements as well. And feeling those,
We are not aware of a breath.
yeah,
Yeah. So even when we look outside, we are seeing many things, but are we really registering anything?
yeah,
So yeah, so that way, if you start getting touch with the immediate messages that your body is receiving, it can immediately align with the mind.
yeah. So I think that's one of the first things that we are trying to say is that when we say step out of the train of thought, it means can we align with some of the signals and sensations in the body. There could be tingling sensations in the hand and body.
Mm, mm.
So one of the resources, if we can use that word, it's a tricky word, but let's use that, is perhaps attention or awareness. So we are trying to use this or pay attention. I mean, it's nice the way English uses pay attention because it looks like attention is a scarce resource like money. So it
Yeah.
says pay attention. Can we pay attention to breath, for example, or some of the signals or sensations in the body? Can we feel the ground? These are simple things. And these really don't need you to be in a specific time and place. They don't need you to spend necessarily long hours. Any moment you feel, okay, can I step out of the train of thought? It's you to try. Um, Having said that, it's an experiment to be done. I mean, one can just theoretically keep saying these things, but unless you try it out, um, you know, I can always feel, oh, I know what my breath feels like, but you may not be actually feeling the breath. Would that be correct, Dr. Kavita?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
So if we talk about breath, then as we breathe in and out, we are not completely aware of the entire cycle that happens. So there is a pause in between the breath as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So if we become aware of that,
yeah,
then that is where we realize the impermanence and spaciousness
yeah, yeah,
of a being. So, Vinay, if you can highlight what we can learn from this kind of simple observations
yeah,
of, say, for example, impermanence or spaciousness.
yeah. Now we actually know impermanence in the sense we know that everything is really impermanent. All the forms are impermanent. We see leaves falling down. We see flowers blooming and then falling off as well. And we also see um, the car that I own. It lasts for a few years and then of course it gets old. And it extends to humans as well. We get old and then we die. Now, of course, we know all this in theory. So, in that sense, I would say impermanence is known to us from school days. The question is, does this knowledge really, is this knowledge same as our understanding? Which means, has this knowledge really got ingrained in us, we could ask, right? Because if it is really ingrained in us, why would I be upset? Why would I be upset when I lose something? Why would I be upset when a relationship break up? The fact that I get upset is an indicator that um, that impermanence as an may not have yet become an understanding. And something as simple as breathing, any form arises and passes away, arises and passes away. Perhaps watching this is reminding us again and again that look, you just look around, any form, whether it's actually a mountain or a stone, it's really arises and passes. So it's actually impermanent. And perhaps these are opportunities for us to really imbibe, if we could say, oh, what is permanent really? Is there anything really that permanent? So that's what we are really suggesting. Um, Now, mindfulness, uh, we are also, when we looked at that definition, one thing was missing in that, which was a goal. We looked at learning process, we looked at seeing clearly, um, despite biases, and anytime, anywhere. But what was not there was goal. And so this is a form of mindfulness where journey is emphasized. So you could say it's a journey-led mindfulness, but that's not the only flavor of mindfulness. Uh, Goal is also emphasized in some forms of mindfulness. And in fact, Dr. Kavita, who is a practitioner of healing processes, for her healing process is an important aspect. So Kavita, can you tell us what does mindfulness as a healing process mean to you?
Yeah, so there is a part of psychology which is called as mindfulness-based cognitive behavior therapy, where mindfulness is used as a tool to bring about shift in perceptions and even physical therapy at a physical level in terms of recovering from any disease setbacks. If we take an example of healing in terms of fears, phobias, anxieties, panic disorders, or even depression, there are a few examples which we can pick up from some Hollywood and Bollywood movies. Like, say, for example, Arjun in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara had fear of water. He was fearful of jumping, diving into the water. And he was actually forced to focus on his breath. So he was forced to become mindful of the breath. And the moment he jumped and he became mindful, the fear simply vanished. So what happened here is he stepped out of his comfort zone, one, which was forced, stepping out by the actress, which helped him overcome fear, and his worldview expanded. Not only about the underwater scene that he could appreciate, but his worldview expanded about his own self, his own capabilities. So that's a healing process. Or if you look at the captain in Sound of Music movie, he was stern, strict, rigid, and always angry. It was the nanny who was the catalyst for him to jolt out of his sternness, to be able to appreciate music, and with that, appreciate his children's talents. So there, what happened is he was able to build relationship with his children. From captain, being a captain to his children, he actually became a father. And that's healing too, healing of relationships. And then, like I said, when we talk about anxiety or panic or obsessions or overthinking, depression, it's all basically thought traffic. And all the thought traffic is, as I said, mindlessness. And to overcome mindlessness, mindfulness becomes a tool then. And this is, as I said, entire approach of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. Mindfulness is also scientifically known to reduce the stress hormone, which is called as cortisol. Cortisol is a very damaging hormone, which can damage all the vital organs of the body. And it has direct impact on our brain waves also, which there are enough experiments and research done by neuroscience. So mindfulness then is a very big tool for physical healing and emotional mental healing as well. I also personally believe that when you're mindful, you're truly alive. And at other times, you're actually mindlessly dead. So then mindfulness definitely becomes a therapeutic tool here.
I think, thank you, Kavita. That was a really nice perspective. If I understood what you're trying to say is that you're saying as you connect with yourself, as you get to know yourself more and connect yourself, as a side effect of that,
Yeah.
perhaps
Yeah.
healing happens. One way to look at that, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and sometimes goals, like I want to improve, could
Yeah.
also become rigid goals. Um, and that could also um, backfire in the sense they could then become, okay, I'm not improving really, you know, I've been doing mindfulness. So goals sometimes, you know, goals have an important place. But
Yeah.
when goals become rigid, they can also create the traffic that we are trying to watch. But having
Yeah.
said,
So,
I agree with you that it's a very, you know, nice way to look at that as therapy. Yeah.
yes, sure. So progressing from here, if we mention that there is a space, there's a trigger, and then there is a response. And in between this trigger and response, there is a space. So what is this space, Vinay, which we also discussed, I think, in last session, that it is all automatic.
Yeah. So that's actually a
So
good
can you,
question, and perhaps this is an area where exploration and experimentation becomes vital. On one hand, we are
okay.
saying that it is fast and automatic. That means our train of thought is really just following one after the other.
Hmm.
Um, but the example from the book, if we take, there is an example of this character Arjun that you mentioned. He's a workaholic and he's on the phone all the time. And one of the automatic response for him is that whenever he gets a phone, I mean, he just picks it up. Like I would say many of us
Hmm.
would do the same.
Hmm.
At one point, after this diving experience that you mentioned, it is shown that he gets a phone and he just watches it for a few seconds, um,
Hmm.
and then decides at that moment that that phone is not so important at that point. Okay, now I
Right.
feel here is an example where there is a trigger which you are used to for a long time, which is just a phone comes and you just automatically press the button which takes the call. And here is a moment where I feel that's what we are calling the space getting created, which means in this train of thought, suddenly there is some space where you're saying, okay, you're watching this automatic response from the fast mode and saying, oh, is this important at this point? And at that moment, then of course, you know, depending on the situation and you know, the person calling and so on, you would either take it or not take it. So like this particular example, we would have so many triggers where our responses are automatic. For example, how much food to take on the plate um, could be a response which could be automatic for us. Um, there are so many other things which we may be doing, like walking from one room to another or opening the door, um, just thinking about the task that you want to achieve by going in the other room. And each of these small things could create opportunities for you to just watch. Or, for
Hmm.
example, in a conversation where I want to give a response, I have a judgment. Okay, somebody is saying something, and I say, "Oh no, no, no," but I feel this way.
Hmm.
It's a very
Hmm.
natural response, and the suggestion here is to see if one can watch this response, which I want to give, to say that look, either yes or no. But I'm just saying, okay, can I just watch it? And then of course can proceed with the response. Now this is
So
yeah
so mindfulness becomes here a tool for communication also.
Yes, in the sense, yeah, I mean, we feel I may be communicating all the time, but my communication could be mostly reactive, where
True. Yeah.
this watching of the automatic triggers may be missing. So this is, you can say, it is learning to access this space from which I can watch the automatic response and say, oh,
Mm.
look, this is automatic.
Mm.
Is this relevant? Maybe it's useful,
Mm.
maybe not. So
Mm. Mm.
that's an experiment worth trying again, anytime, anywhere type of thing. Do you think we can try this for 5 minutes maybe right
Yes,
now?
I think
Yeah,
so. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So
Yeah.
here, guys, let's try this for 5 minutes. What we will try to do is we will try to hop off the train of thought. If you can close your eyes, it helps because there's a lot of information that is coming in from the eyes, and that's a huge processing going on automatically. If you close your eyes, that will reduce it that much. And maybe try to feel your breath. Just feel it at the tip of the nostril. Try to feel sensations in the body, maybe in the fingers or head, or even some surrounding sounds. So let's try it for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back again. Yeah. So
Sure.
let's try that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Um, hope you at least got to experiment a little bit, and we'll hear about your experience as well. But before we open up, let me ask. I want to ask one question to Dr. Kavita, which is related to drumming circle example in the book. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you what that is, and then I'm going to ask this question. So let me share this um, screen again. Okay, now let me go to the end. Okay, so this is an example of drumming circle. Okay, um, from this movie The Visitor, where there's a professor who is sitting on the left hand side, leftmost side, and there's a um, uh, Tarek. He's an illegal immigrant in that particular case, and he's the teacher of this drumming. Now, Dr. Kavita, you mentioned that this aspect appealed to you. What about this drumming circle that appealed to you? Uh, Kavita, you have to unmute.
So there are hundreds of people drumming together here, and it is creating a rhythm. Now, this rhythm is what is important. Drummers will come and go. So if from 100, if one drummer walks out, decides I don't want to drum anymore, the rhythm is not disturbed. So here drumming is primary, not the drummer. Drummer becomes the secondary. So likewise, if we try to understand mindfulness also from this drumming example that we see here, then as I understand, mindfulness is the way to get into the rhythm of the life. And that is where actually life happens. And that is the primary. The thinker or the thought is then secondary. So if I look at the whole aspect of mindfulness from this manner, then does my approach change to life, to mindfulness as a topic, and do I understand the rhythm of drumming and life is what was interesting for me to introspect.
I think that's a very nice way of putting things. So what we are saying is there is a rhythm um, to life itself, um, and mindfulness becomes a way of learning to access that rhythm, and then drumming happens through you, right? Um,
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure if some of you felt that, but for me, when I close my eyes, the pulsations of the body um, were felt, And that's the rhythm of life, which is happening all the time. And perhaps when I'm in touch with that rhythm, um, the dance and the drumming becomes natural. Okay, so that's one aspect that comes out. Thanks for sharing this perspective. Now, one of the things which also comes out in this process is the role of guru, right? Um, so again, Kavita, in this case, it so happens that the uneducated and illegal immigrant from Syria in this movie kind of becomes guru to this tenured professor of economics. So, what is guru according to you?
See, with this example, what we can understand is everybody is a guru and even everything is a guru. And if I can translate that to I am a guru and I am also a student at the same time, because there is always certain amount of exchange happening all the time. So if we keep this approach, then anything and everything is the place from where we can learn. Even an animal can become my guru. So here what happens is professor is an intellectual. And Tarek is telling him not to think. Like you say in the book itself, that it's a bold advice to somebody who is a thinker to not think and just drum. So what happens is we are all the time taught to think. We are taught to critically think, creatively think, solving problem think, six thinking hats, and all different kind of thinking is always taught to us. So what happens is, can we unlearn to think? Once that happens, then everything and everybody around you becomes a guru,
Yeah.
is what I would understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with that in the sense, um, at least in the Indian tradition, there is a lot of significance attached to, and particular images associated with what is guru. He wears certain type of clothes. He usually
Yeah.
has a beard. Then, um, he's probably living in some kind of ashram, um, and associated with a tradition, and all that, and what we are saying is, we are not saying that such a person may not be a guru, right? Such a person can
Yeah.
also be a
Yeah.
person from which a lot can be learned. But we are
True.
saying that's a very narrow definition of what a guru is. Um, Anybody, I mean, just to take this example at home, if I listen to my maid, who in terms of education, may not be much, she may have certain, a lot that I can learn from her. And like Kavita is saying, it can be animals, it can be trees around us, right? Our garden. So anything and anybody can be a guru if we are ready to learn from them in that sense, right? So it's a very um, more generalized version of what is traditionally believed. Anything, Kavita, you want to add something before we open up for um, questions and observations from others?
Not really. If something
Okay,
crosses my mind, I'll share it.
okay.
Yeah.
So, guys, we are now happy to hear your questions and your observations at this point.
Hi, Vinay. This is Abhijit.
Yeah, Abhijit, please.
Hi, thank you very much. This was very helpful, and especially your summary at the beginning, the slides which you put up. So I have uh, uh, two questions, if you don't mind. You can handle them at different times. That's fine. So one is on your slide. Uh, this process of learning versus knowing, seeing versus doing. Um, we have been trained all the time to moment there is learning, there has to be knowledge.
Yeah,
This kind of cause effect thing we are kind of used to. So there is, I did not see acceptance and all of these things which you put up on that slide. especially to kind of understand things so that we don't get upset about and react. So where is acceptance fitting into this slide? That's one thing. The second question I had, also again related to the slide, is I just saw Kavita, she mentioned mindfulness as a tool. And on the slide, you said the missing part here in the mindfulness is the goal. And so these two ideas, that mindfulness as a tool and not having a goal, they seem to conflict, but maybe there is no conflict. Maybe I'm not able to see it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, excellent question. So Kavita, what I'll do is I'll try to address to some degree, and maybe you can add.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Abhi, I think these are very good questions. And the word acceptance again has many connotations, but the connotation that I find useful is when I use acceptance as non-resistance or internal non-resistance to what is. Um, and there's something happens. Let's say I mentioned this situation where I might work hard, but I might still get pay cut. And that's like I'm trying to turn my hand left and the life is turning right. And I don't like it. And there is an internal resistance which is happening to what is. Um, and my understanding is that one of the reasons this happens because I'm not seeing things clearly. I'm not able to see what is really clearly. And when I begin to see what's going on outside, as well as the inside, the resistance part, this resistance diminishes, or you can say drops off. So it's a side effect of seeing things clearly, is my understanding. And hence, it's not there as a specific goal. I mean, clarity of perception, perceptual clarity, automatically, and I think that's somewhat similar to what Kavita also said, where the healing process happens, where your resistance, I mean, depression or worry would be in some sense resisting to something which is perceived to be either what is or what could be in future, right? And when that seen to be doesn't, it's not solving or it does not serve any useful purpose, that resistance drops off or diminishes. So that's my understanding. Now, coming to the second question, goal-led mindfulness and journey-led mindfulness are indeed, I would say, two different flavors of mindfulness. Journey-led mindfulness would place emphasis on the journey of learning from this moment, each moment, while goal would be treated as secondary. Goal-led mindfulness may place emphasis on goal, and I think that's where I would like Kavita to add it, because her point of view is that unless I have a goal, people may not be even interested in trying it out. Okay.
So,
Yeah, please. I think
yeah, so so when we say goal-led mindfulness, mindfulness becomes a tool then to reach a certain goal. Now, mindfulness here is a tool, therapeutic tool to reach a goal of, say, for example, healing or to overcome any limitation. So that's how mindfulness can become goal-led, where you journey through the right mindfulness to reach the certain end result. And then that end result can be shift in perception, shift in your relationships, shift in the physical, mental, emotional health. And journey-led mindfulness will also lead you to serve some place of learning, definitely, is what I see. If there is a cause, there is an effect. So both of them, I think, actually goes hand in hand, because any journey you take, whether it is outside, viewing things, or inside, it is an adventure, because you're going to find something new about yourself, which can lead to a goal of better or deeper understanding of yourself. Or external journey where, say for example, for Arjun, it was an adventure to go underwater and explore the different world altogether.
Okay, I think that. So
So,
Abhijit, my point
Abhijit,
was,
does it make sense, Abhijit?
Yeah, thank you very much
yeah,
for both the answers.
yeah. Um, anyone?
Hi there, I am Heman Makwana here. One question, it's been a very interesting discussion with a lot of depth and many versions of it. But how to practice mindfulness? If you can just try to summarize that, in a simple manner, it will be great. This question is to both of you because both of you are very interactive and interesting conversation.
Okay, let me start, and Kavita, you can add. I mean, we are just looking at one flavor right now, Hemanji, and what we are saying is, first of all, there's an assumption that we have a tendency to be lost in the train of thought. Am I mostly either in the past or future? I'm thinking of something, the train is going on, one thought after the other.
True.
We are suggesting, can I hop off this train and feel perhaps my breath for a few moments, feel some sensations in the body, feel the sounds around me, watch a flower or something, some nature around me. These are very, very small things that can be done. Can I, for example, pay attention to when I'm trying to open the door to go to other room? Can I just pay attention to the opening of the door rather than just already be in the other room to do certain tasks ahead? So these are simple things. One can try to hop off the train of thought. That's one suggestion we have.
Right, sure. Right. Thanks.
Yep. Anybody else?
I think we have a question from Nitin.
Okay.
So Nitin is asking,
Yeah.
will goal-led journey not push me to focus only on goal? And in this kind of focus, will I not lose my attention or awareness of the things around me?
So Kavita, do you want to take that?
I can try.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we are focusing on the goal here, when we're talking about mindfulness, the goal to reach a goal is to pick the berry and enjoy the berry. That becomes the goal.
Okay.
Nitin.
So you're saying your goal need not be really a far-fetched goal, right?
Absolutely.
It can be,
It need not be tangible goal. It can be a non-tangible goal of enjoying something which is being offered.
yeah. So I would just add to that and say that my answer would be yes, it's possible, first of all. It's
Okay.
possible that goal can become rigid. Yeah. And I think that would be the trick in this particular experimentation, to be watchful and alert. I myself have a bias for journey-led mindfulness, but I don't want that bias to really limit the discussion here. I think it's nice to hear different
Perceptions
perspectives.
of,
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, thank you. Thank you for your answer. This is Nitin.
yeah, yeah,
Can I share something here?
yeah. Please, please.
Yeah, thank you. See, I don't know, the example what you shared of the drummer, drummer is not important. The whole process of drumming is more important. So it's a kind of flow, right? So in the flow, when you say that drumming is important, then where is the question of goal coming here?
So when we're talking about goal, Vinay, can I take this?
Yeah, please.
So when we're talking about goal, we are talking in terms of how mindfulness can be utilized for therapies.
Okay, so it is
So
only
that
in
is where mindfulness becomes goal. Yes.
no, otherwise if it is not in a therapy.
Yeah, it still remains a journey to awareness, if I can say. It could be even self-awareness and awareness of surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
awareness of being in an autopilot mode and how to break that loop. So since I come from psychology and therapeutic background, that is how I tend, and I use mindfulness in my clinical practice. For me, the bias remains of mindfulness as a goal.
Yeah.
How I can use mindfulness as a goal,
Yeah. So
because I use it very often, but it doesn't restrict to that, is what I'm saying.
yeah. So Nitinji, I think at this point, what we are trying to say is that instead of trying to arrive at one is better than the other, I think it's my idea was to just hear and listen, and perhaps say that yes, there are different perspectives.
Okay.
You may something may appeal to you more than other, but
There could be some other perspective also,
yeah.
other than goal and
Yes.
journey, right?
Who knows? Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I add something?
Yeah, please.
Uh, Hello, my name is Vibha.
Yeah.
When it comes to mindfulness being a goal, a lot of times actually could it be that we don't even know that it's actually a goal? Like for example, a dancer who is dancing or a person who's playing a musical instrument, or when you're actually like creating a work of art or writing something, or even actually doing some kind of work which requires a lot of concentration. We think that it is actually concentration, but we are actually mindful at that point. Even when you're on stage and you have to be in the moment at that point. So although you have some things running on your mind, it's mostly very important to be in the moment. So could it be that the goal is like it's like a goal oriented mindfulness in such situations?
Yeah, so Vibha, I think you're right in the sense that it's possible that when a musician is playing or an actor is acting out, um, the person may be quite in the moment at that point, and it's definitely helpful to be in the present than think ahead. Having said that, when an artist or a musician is um, trying to get himself ready for a performance that he has to do. Maybe there is certain goal also. That's, for example, you have half an hour's time as a recital given to you, and you're trying to fit your pieces. So maybe there is goal would play certain role there. But when you're playing and when you are even trying to practice, I'm assuming yes, it's the journey would have a lot of importance there. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Can I come in?
Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Shikhar. And first of all, thank you so much for organizing this talk. My question is that, in the Italian culture, there's this culture of actively not doing something. It could be taking a long lunch break, or it could be taking a stroll in the old section of the town. So would that classify as mindfulness or even meditation? Because I also see this as a work-life balance issue. And then a question arises that is mindfulness meant to slow us down or actually quicken the pace of our life? So also see a dichotomy here. So could you shed some light, like both of you? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, if we go back to where we started, we are emphasizing really seeing part. We are saying that when I'm really caught up in a lot of traffic of thought, um, I'm not seeing what's going on, what's happening around me, and what's my body, the signals it's sending. And when I begin to see things more clearly, my responses, which is the doing. So your doing is a response of seeing. Okay, because you see in a fast mode of thinking, your seeing happens automatically in a biased manner, and my actions are a response to that. Having said that, when you go out for a stroll, which suppose you're not used to doing, it's possible that the nature that you walk into would create that space to observe this train of thought. I mean, certain environment can make it conducive for this observation to happen. And then maybe you will see that, oh, why is this whole lot of traffic going on at this point? So it's possible that such breaks might enable the clarity, right? And I would say it's an experiment to be done. Why not, right? If you can, why not? So, but it's really about seeing clearly. And if you feel certain doing could help seeing, try it out. It might work for you, right? I would look
Can
at
it be called meditation?
So it would be in a way. I mean, I would say the process of learning to see clearly, if we say that is meditation, then it is meditation, right? Anything where you're trying to learn to see clearly is meditation. Yeah.
I have a
Any
question. Basically, it's like a wrap between two things. When we are talking about mindfulness, it's about conscious attention, right? So we can only practice it in pockets. Because when we are talking about habit formation, so there are a couple of very famous books. One guy is James Clear. He talks about habit formation. So the whole idea of a habit or a good habit perhaps is to make it go on an autopilot, so that the conscious attention and your emotional and your psychological resources are actually free to do other things. So when we are training our mind to learn new habits, we are actually going into autopilot. So for me, it's a how do you actually put in sync? So it has to be in pockets only. We can't be mindful most of the time. I mean, as human beings, of course, I think we are not even mindful for a minute. So I think somewhere, do you think it would kind of, as a person, it's a little confusing to me at this
Yeah.
point in time. So how would you kind of integrate both of these ideas?
Yeah. Tripti, let's take something simple. Let's take a habit of waking up early and going for a walk. Okay, let's say I'm a lazy guy mostly and I don't get up. So let's say you try to do that, and you train yourself and actually begin to get up early and actually go for a walk or even sit for closed eyes and all that. And then suddenly some time shift happens in your work, and actually uh, you have to really work late hours, and then if you really wake up that early, it becomes a very, very short sleep. So what is a good habit can become out of sync with what reality is, and your reality could shift in such a way that it may make sense to actually then get up late because you need some minimum hours of sleep. So when we form habits, they serve a purpose which are useful at a point. But what we are saying is we need to be alert about the habits when they stop making sense. They don't serve useful purpose anymore. And at that point, am I open to then relook at what's going on? So it's not really about change to a specific habit. It's about openness to change when things don't work out, which is changeability. So, and hence we say that mindfulness is more about changeability than change per se. Yeah.
So it's basically a radar of sorts which helps you, kind of navigate things. Thank
Yes.
you.
And life is giving you signals of that sorts all the time.
Right.
That, oh, was things are not working out. Look, you're just sleeping 2-3 hours. So what's the point, right? And then are we ignoring that? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we are actually, our time is up. Dr. Avita, is that a good time to then um, stop? Do you have anything to add?
No,
Okay.
I am pretty much good. Yeah.
So guys, it was really a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for joining us. And next Saturday, we will try to look at another flavor of mindfulness, which is recognizing wasteful thoughts. Yeah. And hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.